Hey there, it's Craig Parry, Executive Chairman of Vizsla Copper. We've had an exciting couple of months here in British Columbia. We've announced the acquisition of Universal Copper, a fantastic acquisition, and we're really only paying about $2.5 million for the wonderful Poplar project and property that Universal have and have explored and drilled out here in central British Columbia. It's a fantastically located property, but really importantly, for $2.5 million, it adds nearly 2 billion pounds of copper and 750,000 ounces of gold, a good grade to our resource inventory. And I think over time, that acquisition will come to be seen as one of the great bargains in this downturn that we're just coming out of. And that's an exciting thing, I think, for investors to be aware of. We've, over the past few days, seen a really serious rally in precious metals and copper prices. Of course, we all know that the energy transition that the planet's going through demands more copper. I was reading a report this morning from Goldman Sachs suggesting that there will be a 5 million tonne per annum supply gap at the back end of this decade, so by 2030. We can't see where that copper is going to come from. I'm on record as saying that we're going to see much higher prices, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see $20 per pound copper. And so it's with that in mind that we're making these acquisitions. We acquired Woodjam, of course, 18 months ago. That gave us a large resource base, drilled out indicated resource base in a fantastic location just south of the Mount Polly mine. With the closing of the Universal Copper transaction, which we think is on track and expected by the back end of April 2024, we'll then have a resource inventory of close to 4 billion pounds of copper and 1.7 million ounces of gold. That all in a company with a market capitalization today of about $12 million, extraordinarily cheap at a time when we're seeing the copper price rise so very strongly. I think this morning I opened my screen up and we saw that the copper price had jumped from $4.02 to $4.10, and it's really starting to trend in the right direction. Just on the copper market, you've seen some very interesting things out of China. China's been building out massive new copper smelting capacity, but those copper smelters in China have agreed to cut back their production for lack of feed. And we've seen TCs and RCs, the cost of treating copper through those smelters, drop to all-time lows, next to zero, which has never happened really before in all of history. So they're desperate for feed. The support in the market for the producers now is rising strongly, and I think we're going to see much higher copper prices in the not too distant future, and certainly in the next couple of years we're going to see extraordinarily high copper prices. Hence we continue to look at other projects and continue to kick the tires on other corporate opportunities, a little bit like Universal, but as I say, Universal for $2.5 million, acquiring 2 billion pounds of copper and 750,000 ounces of gold. You can't go wrong doing that in this market. In the meantime, we just announced last week a hard dollar financing. Very pleased to see that incredibly well supported by our existing shareholders and others wanting to get a new position. We really just looked after existing shareholders there. However, we went out to raise $1.5 million, and we've had over $3 million of orders. So we're going to take a little bit more money there that will allow us to do more work, particularly on acquisitions over the next 12 months. On the project side, we're quite low on flow-through funding, but we'll look at rectifying that in the coming months. And what we'd like to do come the summer is really put some well-placed holes around the high-grade zones of those existing porphyry centres that we have on the Woodjam property, and target those zones and look to target those zones at depth and really get under those high-grade zones and come to understand better what causes the high-grade zones and the extent of those zones. So whilst you can never guarantee good drill results, I think that work will give us a good chance of having some very splashy drill results over the coming months and come the summer when we kick off that program, which is likely to kick off at this stage in June, subject to financing that project. That program. We'll also look going forward at what we can do on the Poplar Copper project. Poplar, the team there at Universal made that discovery and then focused entirely on the Poplar porphyry resource that's been drilled out. We see upside there. We think that there are other extensions to that deposit that are easily testable with drilling. And the exciting thing for me is that it's a largely unexplored property outside of the Poplar project. It's a big area, and there are plenty of other sniffs of mineralisation. So I'll be looking at uncovering those and exploring those over the coming 12 months. And additionally, we acquired the Copperview project a few months ago, which covers the area to the north of Kodiak's Gate Zone. We've got a number of exciting targets there to test as well. So the story, very simple at the moment. We're looking to explore, do further drilling come summer and test those higher grade zones again, in an effort to bring eyeballs back to the story. We'd love to see some good results come out of that, and I think we're a good chance there. We're making the universal copper an incredible bargain, buying it at the right price when the copper price was very low. And then, of course, our market capitalisation, very, very cheap for the resource inventory that we will have at the end of this month on closing of that transaction. And, the most exciting thing, we're finally starting to see copper prices really trend up. It's not just me. There are a lot of other banks and brokers that are suggesting that the copper price has a long way to run here. And I think by the back end of this year, we'll be in a very different environment for copper exploration stories. And now's the time to be buying because everything's so very, very cheap, and it won't stay this cheap for much longer. Thank you very much.